Hi, my name is Wesley Wright, and what I want to do is just give a brief overview on the proper fundamentals associated with shooting a handgun. A little bit about myself. I've been a competitive shooter for the past 7 years. And before I decide to get into the fundamentals, I just want to make sure that you guys understand and are aware of the 4 firearm safety rules. Hugely important just because they guarantee your safety whenever handling a firearm. So the first rule, you treat every single weapon as if it's already loaded. Second rule being that you never let your muzzle cover anything that you don't wish to destroy. Third rule being that you want to keep your finger straightened off of the trigger until you have the intent to fire. Fourth rule being that you always want to be aware of your target's foreground as well as your target's background. So let's get into the fundamentals. Excuse me, the first fundamental is going to be your stance. Now your stance is important obviously because it gives you balance. With any gun that you shoot there's going to be recoil. If you're unbalanced it'll kind of knock you off center, so you want to have a good stance when you're shooting. And in order to accomplish that, we'll start off by having our feet shoulder width apart. Since I am right leg dominant, I'll take a small step to the rear, and then I'm also going to put a slight bend in my knee. Now the reason for the bend in the knee is just because they act as a shock absorber and just gives your frame a little bit more rigidity. Now the next fundamental is going to be your grip, and since I am filming in a public location, obviously it's not appropriate for me to bring an actual firearm in here, so I'll be using my cell phone for demonstration purposes. However, if you do stick with me to the end of the video, I am going to take you guys to the range just to show you how everything kind of comes together. So in order to establish a proper grip, since I am right-handed, I'll start with my right hand. I'll be taking my pinky finger, my ring finger, as well as my index finger. If I pretend that this phone is the grip of a firearm, I'll be wrapping those around the base of the grip. What I'll do with my left hand, which is called my support hand, I'll take all 4 fingers except for my thumb, and I'll place those over top of the pre-existing fingers. With my left thumb, I will press that up against the frame of the gun. With my right thumb, I'll press that over top of that thumb that's already there. The finger that's left over is my trigger finger, and that's what I'll be using to pull the trigger. So in short, this is what it'll look like to acquire a proper grip. The next fundamental is going to be our trigger pull. Now trigger pull is hugely important just because anywhere between 95 to 98% of all accuracy problems that stem from shooting a gun come from pulling the trigger incorrectly. So what you want to do to establish a proper trigger pull is you want to give it a slow press to the rear. And the reason you want to press it directly to the rear is, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but if I just kind of wiggle my finger like back and forth, you'll see that my finger kind of arcs to the left. Well, if you think about that when shooting, that means that the gun is also going to arc to the left. So in order to alleviate that problem, you want to make sure that you pull that pull that trigger straight to the rear. The next fundamental is going to be sight alignment. Now sight alignment is hugely important just because you want to hit exactly where you're aiming at. So for those of you that have shot before, you know and understand that each and every handgun comes equipped with a front sight as well as a rear sight. For those of you that don't, what the front sight looks like is a single notch. It's a metal notch that sticks up maybe 1/4 inch. The rear sight looks like 2 metal notches that stick up from the rear of the handgun. And the name of the game is to line those 2 sights together. So that way the front sight sits directly in between the rear sight. And not only that, you want to make sure that they're perfectly level with each other. And the last fundamental is just tying it all together. So what you want to do after you fire your first shot, it's called your follow through. You want to make sure that everything is good before you decide to pull the trigger again. So I have a good stance, I have a good grip, my sights are aligned, I have the intent to shoot, so I go ahead and place my trigger finger back on the trigger and I give it a slow press to the rear. After that shot goes off, I repeat the process again. Like I mentioned, guys, I'll go ahead and take you to the range just to show you what it looks like when you tie all of those fundamentals together.